Hello, good evening. My name's George Laird and welcome to the Laird Report. On today's little show, I'd like to talk about Keir Starmer. Something actually popped up which is pretty much ongoing as it relates to the trans debate and politicians. Keir Starmer appeared on a radio show and it was a morning show on LBC called Keir. During the show, the presenter Nick Ferrari asked the Labour leader whether women can have penises. And if you've happened to have seen the video, which has been posted on various social media sites, Keir Starmer, who is a university educated professional, could not tell the presenter the proper answer to the question. So what is the proper answer to the question, can women have penises? The answer is no. This simple question has big, serious implications for the Labour Party as a party and Keir Starmer as a leader. I would say this: no one in the Labour Party who's an elected member of the shadow cabinet, or an elected MP, or in Scotland who's an elected MSP, or anyone who's an elected Labour councillor, can actually tell you the truth about whether a woman can have a penis. You know, this debate would be incredibly funny if it wasn't in fact so serious. The issue obviously is to do with trans issues. And one thing that all political parties of the left have a problem with is, of course, they have minorities within their parties who are effectively various factions who undermine the party as a whole. Is the Labour Party a party waiting for government in 2024? My answer to that question is quite simple: no. Is Keir Starmer a Prime Minister in waiting? Fuck no. Normally I don't tend to swear, but the reason I used the word fuck was because I wanted to put added emphasis onto what I say. In general, swearing is bad. Most people tend to do it as a way of conveying an emotion. Authors do it in books. Speakers do it in presentations. Keir Starmer and his shadow cabinet are completely and utterly worthless. Throughout the last couple of years watching the Labour Party, and also having been a member of the Labour Party, I've watched a party which is sadly in decline for a number of reasons. And the big reason, of course, is factionalism within the party. The Labour Party, as I said, divides into two major factions, left and right. But within those factions, there are various other types of factions, minority factions, which have been responsible for making the Labour Party completely and utterly unelectable. In Scotland, the Labour Party at Holyrood is the third party. And there's a good solid reason for that, for Labour being displaced. In the 2019 election, one of my friends, who is an elected politician, told me that the Labour Party had a very, very good chance of becoming the official opposition in Holyrood. And as much as I like this individual, I actually had to take that with a pinch of salt. The Labour Party is a party which is in decline, especially in Scotland where it's most noticeable. The Labour Party, if we all think back to the end of the Second World War, was a party which was the party that implemented the National Health Service, it instituted the welfare state, it brought along many reforms for which the party should be and is rightly recognised for making the United Kingdom a better place. But the Labour Party has also done other policies which have been detrimental to the United Kingdom. I'm not going to cover a list of those policies or want to get sidetracked by those, because I'd like to basically keep to the problem that the Labour Party has at the moment, and that is minorities within the party effectively causing the party to be completely and utterly unelectable. Why did this take place? Well, most political parties have memberships which are diverse. That is a good thing. I think that in politics there are lots of people whose voices have been neglected. And because their voices have been neglected, that has created a huge injustice, which always should be addressed. But the Labour Party of 2022 is a party which is divorced from reality. The fact that people like Keir Starmer can go on to a radio broadcast or have a television interview and not answer a simple question, can women have penises, tells you everything you need to know about Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer's fake. Keir Starmer's not a man that you should put your trust in. I just don't know why Keir Starmer wants to be the leader of the Labour Party. Because he must know that he is a bad leader. He must know that he is a weak leader. But because of the way that minorities have put themselves into political parties at various levels, and this doesn't just affect the Labour Party, I want to make that absolutely clear. It affects pretty much all the parties of the left. It's quite hard to know what a person like me could say to make someone like Keir Starmer wake up and act like a leader. I mean, it's just, I look at his problems, which there are absolutely many, and I see someone who is completely and utterly stuck. How does Keir Starmer become a leader? Well, in part, education can help. But a leader has to have a certain natural ability. And as we've seen from the Labour Party, sadly, over the years where there's been various elections for leadership of that party, the people that have become the leader have been sadly lacking in leadership credentials. I don't understand how the Labour Party of 2022 goes forward and wins an election in 2024. The trans debate basically shows the Labour Party as a party which is effectively being held hostage by a minority. That minority is at all different levels of the Labour Party. I've spoken about this as it relates to the Scottish National Party. The Labour Party doesn't have leaders, not in the true sense of the words. And Keir Starmer is a man who's destined to give up the leadership at some point. Because at some point it should dawn on him that he is the problem. But he isn't just singularly the problem of the Labour Party. He's, God, it's more, it's a whole cultural problem within the Labour Party. I think, as I said before, and I'll say this again, I believe that minorities should be in political parties, because far too often people's voices have been neglected and have been pushed off to the side. People who stand for public office should have the ability to recognise an injustice. But by the same token, people in politics should have the ability to recognise reality. J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, says that the Labour Party can no longer be relied upon to defend women and girls. She's absolutely 100% correct. But J.K. Rowling shouldn't have to have said this. Just like people like myself shouldn't have to say it either. The Labour Party needs to wake up. The Labour Party needs to fix itself internally. But it can't do that. In order to do that, the Labour Party has to remove people from the party who have effectively held the party hostage over sexual orientation. They should have done this a long time ago. They should have rooted out these people. Now, I'm not saying that LGBT people who have legitimate grievances shouldn't have their grievances aired and fixed, because that is what equality is all about. But at the present moment, a minority within the LGBT community is holding the Labour Party and other parties of the left hostage, because they don't want to recognise the universal truth. They don't want to recognise reality. And the reason, the way that the LGBT minority holds political parties hostage is, of course, to target individuals. So if you step out of line, they can brand you homophobic, and they can run a campaign against you and call you homophobic, even if you're not homophobic. And that is the way that these minorities operate. They operate to smear individuals. They operate by turning on people within political parties, make them feel unwelcome, discriminate against them. Now, the Labour Party, like all political parties, likes to promote itself as a party that's inclusive. Well, that isn't the case. Political parties, the mainstream political parties of the left, are not inclusive parties. They are parties which have been taken over, and because they've been taken over, that's created a real problem within society. An LGBT minority is actually destroying social cohesion within this country. We've seen this done before with other minorities who expect special rights. And sadly for the Labour Party, when 2024 comes, they won't be getting the vote of the working class woman. And chances are they won't be getting the vote of the working class males either. Why is that? Because everybody expects to adhere to a certain standard of decency and common sense. And if the Labour Party won't protect decency, common sense and reality, how's it going to run a country? Anyway, my name is George Laird, and thank you for watching the Laird Report. If you like what I had to say, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.